Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wandering Creative. Today I am going to show you how to create a personalized calendar from Shutterfly. Now, I'm doing this because every year I create one of these for grandparents and great-grandparents, and every year I have people asking me how I do it, and also insisting there's no way they could ever make theirs look as good as mine. Well, I always insist that with Shutterfly, you absolutely can because they make it so easy. And no, this is not a sponsored video. I am just doing this because I hope it will be helpful for you. So let's jump into it. So in this tutorial, I'll be walking you through how to get your photos into Shutterfly so you can use them in your calendar, how to choose your template, how to use the different editing modes. So there's advanced and there's basic, it depends on how ambitious you are. And we'll talk through how to add text and different embellishments to make it fully yours. So let's get started. First, we're gonna come up here to calendars, and we are on the Shutterfly website, and we are gonna come over to wall calendars. Today, I'm actually going to do an 8x11 because I have a coupon for a free one, and I'd actually like to use it. So let's go ahead and get this started here. We're gonna click on that. And this first page you see is all of the different templates you can choose. Now, you could start from absolute scratch. What we're going to do today, though, is what I think most people will want to do, and that is have a bunch of photos that they want to put into a calendar, and they're not exactly sure how to do that. So you can see as we're scrolling down through here, there are many different styles to choose from, and each template comes with its own pre-made embellishments, quotes, finishes, backgrounds. And so you can click in and check some out if you want to. So for example, if we check into this one here, and what I usually do first to see if this is the style I want is look at the idea pages. That's this right here. The different embellishments and idea pages they have in there that I might be able to start with. Different backgrounds, you can see what kinds of backgrounds are available. And I'm not a huge fan of this one, so maybe I'll go back and I'll look at some other options. So let's see, I kind of like the look of this one. Let's look at this. Look at the idea pages. Yeah, so I kind of like the bright and the different designs there. So I think that could make a really fun one. So I'm going to come over here and click personalize. So what pops up first is this add photos option. Now you do need to be signed in to do this. So you can see there are a few different options. What I'm going to do is this my computer option. All right, so I hit choose photos, and I have my photos for this calendar in 2 folders here. I'm gonna click this, and you could individually check each of these, but I just want all of them, so I'm going to hit Control All, open. And then we're going to get the ones out of that other folder too. Control A, open. All right, so we've got all of our photos in here, and now make sure to click add. Don't click this up here thinking that now they're in there. They're not in there yet. Add. Now you can see they're all down here, ready to use. All right. Now, I don't love this orange background. So the first thing I'm going to do with this cover, this is the calendar cover, is come over here to background. So you'll see over here, there are these buttons, layouts. This is basically how many photos are in the layout, where there might be text options. And in the layouts, you can choose how many photos you want in each. So let's say you have 4 photos that are kind of related to one another. You want to put them in a single page. These are all of the pre-existing layouts. Now I'll get into how you can actually adjust these to make them even more customized, but it's a great place to start. So I'm gonna come back here because we're on the cover, just want one page here. And I'm going to go to more backgrounds because again, I don't love this orange. I think I actually really like this pink. I like, it still has some texture. All right, so now I also want to customize the text up here. And the way you do that is you double click. And then in this text editing box, you can change the font, you can change the style. So this particular font only has a regular option, but some of the fonts do have like bold or italic options. It just depends. You can change the size, You can even change the text color. And you can also change the orientation, the spacing between lines, the centering within the box, and we also can obviously change the text itself. Now this auto fit button, let me show you this here. If I say, make this bigger. So now it says text does not fit, right? If you don't click auto fit. If you click auto fit, it will put it back to where it fits. So it's kind of helpful, but it can get in the way if you are actually trying to make it bigger. So let's say that we did want to make this bigger. So first, let me make it something that I actually want it to be. How about we just put the year 2023 calendar. And let's say I want a different font, maybe this font. So it auto fit. Right now we're in basic editing. This is if you don't want to mess with too much, you just kind of want to drag and drop photos. This is fine. So for example, say I want to make this photo, drag and drop, and you could actually kind of be done with this. Maybe you want to edit this. Maybe I'll put it as the Wandering Creative. But say I actually want to make this bigger. I want this to be moved somewhere different. You can't do this in that basic editing mode. This is where you go into advanced editing. You click this toggle, you can see the background change now. And that is a cue for you that you are now in that advanced editing mode. And now you can click on each element and move it. Now you can move it with the mouse like this, or you can actually use your keyboard arrows to toggle it up and down or right and left. And these alignment lines help you know where your centering is, how lined up you are with other elements. And you could see when I went too far down, it again gave us this warning. And this warning says the text is too close to the edge and may not print well. So this is just a helpful indicator that, oh, okay, got to put that a little closer to the top so that I can make sure that my text is going to print right. So now let's go to work moving all of these elements. So I'm going to actually select them all together. I'm pushing the shift key and then just clicking on each one. I'm just going to use the arrows to move it all down together. Arrows on the keyboard. And then I'm going to make this bigger. And this way, I should be able to make that size bigger. See that? So I like the nice big size. Maybe I want it a little bit further down. Again, I'm hitting those arrow keys, and I think this is a good cover. So you can see that. Let's get back into regular editing mode, hit that toggle. In both editing modes, across the top are the months. Okay, so the cover, and then if you click January, it'll pop up with an idea page. This is an idea page. It's a template you can start from. And so you can see as we click through each month, they're usually seasonally themed. So you can see this one's lucky for March. And the one other thing to be aware of, and I missed this the first time I created a Shutterfly calendar, and so it turned out looking a little wonky, is that you have access to edit the bottom too. So obviously right now we're just seeing the top. Here is where we can see the top and then the bottom for each page. And you just want to make sure that your bottoms line up with your tops, so they go together. So let's come back and work on January here. So how about snow and donuts, say? So we're in January and this background isn't too bad, but it does read a little bit summer to me. It just kind of looks like pool waves or something. And I guess that makes sense because it's called waves. So maybe I'm going to use knit. That's kind of a sweater. You want to be warm in January, right? But while I'm thinking about it, so that we don't have a mismatch, I'm going to come down to the bottom and also hit that knit. Now, this is an element that we will now want to edit out. So we will come to advanced editing and click on that and delete it. So say instead of having the whole background be that knit, we wanted the background to be maybe a more solid purple, but then we also wanted to have that ribbon back that we just deleted. So we would come into embellishments and ribbons and drag this over. So we've got this ribbon here, but it's obviously blocking off half our calendar. So we're gonna come up here, we're gonna select it, come up here to layer and send to back. And now it's where it should be, okay? So let's come back to the top. I am going to come over to layouts. I know I have two pictures I want to use, the snow picture and the donut picture. So I'm going to click 2, and I'm going to look to see if there are any here that kind of strike my fancy. I kind of like that. Okay, so let's do this one. I'll click that. And gray spots are always photo spots. Now it changed my text here, so I'm going to change that back. I like the white. I'm going to come back to that Ana Clara, but I want it to be a whole lot bigger. So I'm going to click that. You can also come in here to the text and scroll down and do something like that. But that's going to say it's way too big, so it's auto-fitting to that box. And I'm actually realizing this is a little too delicate, so I'm going to change the font to something more bold so that it shows up on that background. You can also adjust the tilt by pulling this. There we go. Let it snow. So I'm going to pull this up here because I want that to be my main picture. And then I'm going to pull the donuts up here. Now let's say I want to see a different part of the donuts in this picture because the frame itself is a little bit different shape. So I can double click and then edit the parts that I want to see. So maybe I do that. You can also see there are some filters you can use here. You can kind of see how those look if I want it to be black and white, sepia, vintage, vibrant. I'll stick with the original. So I'll do that. And so we have some donuts there. You can also, in advanced editing mode though, change the size of this frame. So if I wanted to see more of the donuts and I wanted to move this over to make sure it stays centered, then I could easily do that in advanced editing mode. You cannot do this in regular editing mode. So if you want to do this, make sure you've clicked this toggle. So let it snow. We've got that. Double check it matches down here. Looking good. And we can move into February. So here I might use some of my illustrations. So I'm going to drag this in. Now this doesn't look great, right? We definitely need to double click this and get this to look good. So let's look on these different filters, get the coloring how we want it to be. We'll crop it to make sure that it looks better. So let's try that and see how that looks. Done. All right, and there it is. And a rose. Again, I'll edit this, double click, move it, crop it so that that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll delete this because I don't really need that. Maybe I'll move this down here, click that, love always. And I need, if I want to make this bigger, I need to make the text bigger. If you want to go on multiple lines, you come over here to the text editing box and hit that return. It's centered, so it will show up centered on there. We need to make it bigger. And now it doesn't fit, but I come back over here. I'm gonna select all of these actually because I want this up design-wise. Now that we moved the text from up above, it looks a little funny, so I'm gonna do that. And I accidentally selected this. I'm gonna move this back down. We have that, so let's check the bottom. And this looks good. We didn't change anything up top, so we don't need to do anything down here. And so now we can move into March. I'd like to show a big picture of a sunset. So I'm going to come over here to layouts. I have one picture. Boop. And I'm just going to, let's see, maybe I'll do this one. Okay, and I want to adjust that, so double click, pull that down so I see that. Let's see, you can check to see if any of the filters make it look better. Oh, I like the vibrant, that looks nice. So we'll do that. And now, not loving the background, so I'm gonna come over to backgrounds, and so that looks pretty good. I think I will move this up. You can see I'm using the guideline to make sure that it's centered. And I want to add some text down here. Now, this layout did not have text, so this is where we will want to come up here. You can see you can add a text box or you can add a photo area. So in this case, I want to add a text box. So that popped in here. I'm going to pull it down here. I'm going to make it pretty big because I want to make sure as best I can that my text that I put in will fit. And I'm going to double click it so that I can get to the text box. And I'm going to say, find the beauty. Because we all know that finding beauty in March sometimes, especially after a long Midwest winter, can be challenging. So let's see, how about we do this? I want that to be a lot bigger. All right, but what if I don't want the black? Well, we double click again, we come over here and we can try out different colors. So I can try white. No, that disappears. Maybe I want a grayer black. So maybe I don't want it to be quite so deep dark black, so I go with a coal. Okay, so that's how you can change the color over here. All right, now what do we need to do? Well, this isn't going to look great. So bottom, we need to make sure that we adjust this. I'm going to select a background. I will keep it with that herringbone. Now we need to select this ribbon, delete it. All right, so I just also changed these text pieces to coal, like we did up above, instead of the white, which you couldn't see on this yellow background. We've got that all set up now. So at this point, I will start moving through a little more quickly so that you can kind of watch the process, but I'll also be popping in here and there with an explanation as needed. So here what I just did was I came to the frames under embellishments, drag and drop that over here, and that gave this photo a nice border. If you wanted to do that for some of these others, you certainly could. So say I wanted to add a border to this, and now it has a nice little border there. So while we're here, if you're finding this video helpful, I'd love it if you just hit that like button and maybe subscribe if you don't want to miss another one. I post all kinds of fun little tutorials for the art dabbler or art curious on this channel, so I'd love to have you along for the ride. So you can also go into get more backgrounds, and I think that's what I might do here. So I'm just looking for kind of something in the white genre. So maybe, so let's try those. Add to project. So let's try that. Okay, that's kind of cute. I like that one. Let's do the same thing with the bottom. So to replace a picture, if you want to change what picture you want to use, don't do this, that moves the whole thing. So you can undo. And to just change the picture, you can drag the new one on top, and that changes it for you. And then we can drag this other one up here. You can kind of see every time you've used a picture, Shutterfly does a check mark there. So actually, I think I might want to swap the pumpkin and the candy. And we've got our entire calendar. Now, if you can click through and kind of check everything over, make sure it's how you want it to be, but you can also click preview up here in this corner. And this lets you get a look at the full calendar. So you can click all the way through and double check that everything looks how you want it to look all the way through the year. And if you see anything you need to fix, you can go back and do that by clicking back to editing. If everything looks good, you're happy with it, then you can click that add to cart. So there you have it. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you feel confident that you can go in and create for yourself or your family members your own Shutterfly calendar, and happy creating.